Riveting content. Empowering your life. Welcome to the Sphere. This episode is sponsored by
Sphere Exclusives. Looking for exclusive content from your favorite podcasts here at the Sphere? Head over to sphere.tv/Patreon and sign up today. Body by Royce. Body by Royce gives precision instruction to help you reach your fitness goals. Book your consultation today at area code 832-332-2407 or send an email to thebodybyroyce@gmail.com.
Houston Housewives of Finance. For more information on increasing your cash flow, becoming your own money manager, and to schedule your complimentary personal finance strategy, contact the Houston Housewives of Finance today at 1-844-700-4463.
Hey guys, welcome to another week of the Docs Podcast. This is your show for everything related to health and wellness, and we are here as your guys to help facilitate some conversations about what's going on in health, in the world, in your city, in your town, and just to give you guys some good feedback, bring some good topics to light in regards to health and wellness. And as you already know, it's your girls, Dr. Kwanzaa and Dr. Keisha. I'm Dr. Kwanzaa, MD. I'm a board-certified emergency physician known as the DJ Doctor, which I haven't had much time lately, which I'm sad about, but it's all good. And we are here for another week, and so we hope you guys are doing well. And big shout out over here to Dr. Keisha. What's going on?
Hello. I am Dr. Keisha Davis. I am your board-certified anatomical, clinical pathologist, and cytopathologist, and also a certified personal trainer and group fitness instructor. So please check me out if you want any questions about understanding your body or getting back into shape or just having, one of those
your challenge is starting up again, right?
I am. Every month I do a monthly challenge. So if you catch me on Dance Health Fitness on Facebook or KDMD_health at Instagram, you can check out my fitness and also inbox me if you want to catch it one time. It's pretty fun.
I'm going to be joining. It's
virtual,
this month.
So most of it is virtual, meaning you can do it online, real time. I can give you feedback. You have support of other people that are doing the same challenge as you, and it's just trying to get you motivated. But
for sure, it's gonna be dope. I'm excited. I don't know how y'all are feeling out there. It's been
I'm tapping my
week.
thumbs, waiting for you to say you're going to join.
I just said that.
I know. I'm just waiting for the day that you actually do.
Oh, you mean when I click the button?
Yes, yes. There's the people that say
1st.
I am going to. There's the people that need to that haven't.
I know.
It's making that step, making that jump.
It's gonna happen. You're gonna be amazed and surprised. You're gonna be like, oh my God, look at Dr. Kwanzaa. She's here working out and eating right.
I'm
but
excited.
I got to, because you know why? This just sidebar, but our lives are so hectic and crazy. You have to be able to have the energy and appropriate nutrients you need to be able to get through the day. And I know I'm feeling it this week. So y'all forgive me if my energy's a little bit low, but we about to pop it on up. I'll pop it on up because we were always so happy to be here. And we have a lot of exciting things that are about to come forward with the show that we're real excited about. And you guys will be hearing about it in the very near future. But let's hop on into the show. So Dr. Keisha found this really, really cool article, and it's basically discussing about doctors who are now seeking advanced training in addiction medicine.
Yes.
And for many people, they're very aware of the role of addiction in our society and how difficult and unique of a problem it is, especially with the opiate epidemic. And it's really good to see that the medical community has finally opened their eyes to creating some programs and training for physicians to help patients who are wanting to overcome their addiction, because as we all know, it's not just a problem of, I want to stop. There's a psychological dependence. There's actually a physical dependence. There's social factors that play a role into addiction medicine. It's not just a problem of willpower. And it's really refreshing to see that the American College of Medicine is really opening their eyes to that fact. I mean, it's a huge epidemic in the United States. You may know the actual stats on it, but it's a ginormous problem. It's splashed across the national news every single week about overdoses, people dying from opioid addiction, amongst other substances. And, it's really a multifactorial approach to treating that. And so it's really, really refreshing that these programs are coming to light. So physicians are able to get some additional training after residency in this area, and have been finding it very rewarding to not only acknowledge that people do want to change, they need tools and assistance and opportunities to learn how to be different. And that's a really difficult thing. And I think in medicine, I think a lot of us are shifting to understand that most diseases and addictions are not just as simple as just saying, I'm gonna quit cold turkey, because you can almost put anything in that perspective of an addiction. You could have an addiction to watching TV. You could have an addiction to shopping, but it's usually some other factors related. And it's interesting because I had a patient this week who I really felt so bad for her. She had a really severe back problem, just like diffuse degenerative disease in her back. She has stenosis, which is like a narrowing of the spinal canal, essentially secondary to trauma, arthritis, whatever the case may be. And the lady was in agony, and I really felt for her. And she was already going to pain management. She was doing everything that she could do, but because of a lot of different factors, and number one being that a lot of doctors now are very hesitant to prescribe, strong pain medications or narcotic pain medications due to DEA crackdowns and so on and so forth. She was just suffering, and I felt horrible for her, and so I like to see that, as a medical community, we are looking at things in a more multifactorial way and coming up with opportunities for people to get the help that they need, and to stop labeling, patients who really need access to, pain medicine, because there's not another option. I mean, she had multiple surgeries. She was doing everything that she was supposed to do, and yet still kind of wasn't getting the relief that she needs. That made me sad, but it's refreshing to know that there's some options out there, not just on the addiction side, but also in finding a good quality pain specialist to treat you in a caring fashion, in a fashion that not only balances your social issues and your pain, but it's just an interesting caveat to kind of this narrative about not only treating addiction, but also for people getting access to pain management in the right way. So pretty cool to see.
A couple statistics in that article. More than 20 million people have substance abuse disorder in the United States. Now, what happened with this is there are fellowships now, there's 60 fellowship programs that offering physicians a year or two postgraduate training in clinics and hospitals. And they learn evidence-based approaches for treating addiction, because it's multifactorial.
Yeah,
so
it
it's
is.
really good that
it
they
is.
spend this time.
And I don't think we address that a lot. I think it's real cookbook sometimes in the way that we treat people, and that's not the best approach. And I think time has shown us that that best practice does involve a multidisciplinary type approach to treating most, if not all, conditions if we really want an effective change. So that's good to see.
Everyone's a specialist, and they're specialists for a reason. So to have this specialist, when they go to the ER, they go to their generalist, instead of dismissing them as not needing pain medicine, they're addicted, knowing, okay, let's just contact this specialist, this pain addiction specialist, and let them take care of it.
And make a determination because sometimes I will say this, that I think people are undertreated and they result to kind of unsavory resources to get just some relief. And I think most people at the heart of it who have chronic pain related to a verified medical illness, they just want relief. And so sometimes they're just trying to find a way, and it may not be the best way, but this is really cool to see. It gives another option for people, which is great.
It does. It really does. So we're going to delve into the topic for today, which is malaria. But first, I want to let you know that this portion of the show is sponsored by the Spear Exclusive Team. Are you looking for exclusive content that you can't find anywhere else? Well, look no further than the Spear Exclusives. It's found only on Patreon. We've got behind-the-scenes shots happening daily at the Spear Studios, and each shot on the network curates episodes that are only delivered to Patreon subscribers. Plus, we deliver the show live from start to finish in our Discord server, and that's exclusive to Patreon family. So sign up today at www.thespear.tv/Patreon. You can join a $2, $5, or $8 Patreon tier and get access to all exclusive content that we only offer at the Spear. Pretty nice.
Oh, check it out for sure. So
it's springtime.
It is springtime. How are you feeling about it?
You got to get ready mentally, health-wise, and a lot of people are going to the tropics or going to warm climates, going to islands.
Yeah.
So I was like, why it's the best time to talk about tropical diseases, and specifically this time for malaria.
Okay.
It's a pretty more common one, but there's tons, right? So in my little pathology mind, if you think of microbes is anything that kind of infects your body. Mm-hmm. And we talked about bacteria before and viruses, and then there's parasites, and then there's the worms, parasitic worms. So when you talk about malaria, you've got to kind of classify that down. And you've got the bacteria, I think I already mentioned. And there's actually 5 different types of malaria. 4 that infect humans. And the 5th one that infects humans is actually zoonotic, meaning it's in animals and it gets to us somehow. We get secondary infected if we get bit by a dog or something like that.
So how does one contract malaria, Dr. Keisha?
So malaria, you've got the 5 different types, and most of these types are in mosquitoes. And the mosquito, there's a certain mosquito, the Anopheles, and you can check out CDC. They have some cool stuff. CDC has a lot of cool stuff that you can, even as a patient, look up and see how things work. They're very informative, up to date on practices. But you see the life cycle, despite whatever one you have, it kind of follows a somewhat general thing that it gets, the mosquito gets infected. It goes through malaria goes through its phases. And then the mosquito, we get bit by the mosquito, right? If we're on a trip, may not even know that we got bit. And when we get bit by the mosquito, it goes through the rest of its cycle, goes to the liver, and then it starts to multiply. Mm-hmm. It goes into the blood cells. And so basically when it's in the cycle in the blood cells is when we start to see the signs and symptoms and where it wreaks havoc. And then it goes back and stays.
It's pretty dramatic, but it's interesting that in other countries, obviously, malaria is so common till, it's kind of like getting the flu. I guess we would, if we were to think about it in terms of the United States, I mean, the incidence of it in other countries is really that high.
Yeah.
It's nothing that anybody worries about, but when you see it here, it's pretty dramatic. I've had a couple of cases in my career, and it's, so easy to treat, but yet at the same time,
finding it.
Huh?
Because you kind of forget, right? We forget over in Houston, Texas, maybe the symptoms are not always exclusive to malaria.
Right.
So unless you really ask about travel history.
Ironically, I saw it around the time of Ebola.
Oh, okay.
So, it presents kind of dramatically with the fevers, and I was like, oh my gosh. And so I'm over here. I was on the CDC website for sure. But, once I broke everything down, you just have to think logically, and go through the steps and obviously travel history and all this kind of stuff. It was like all the classic symptoms, the fevers, the night sweats. And he was pretty sick, but I mean, it's super simple to treat. But, the presentation certainly is very dramatic. And but it was a very cool case. It's a cool case.
It's cool.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's cool from a pathological standpoint for me. But having it is not so fun. But there's some cool facts that you might want to know and it'll make more sense. So the most common one is the falciparum, the Plasmodium falciparum. That's the one that's usually seen more in Africa. That's 75% of the cases. Right. Then a quarter of them is the Plasmodium vivax, and that's more in Australia, Central America. Those are more effective. The falciparum is the one that also may cause some more of the severe symptoms. Here's some cool things, though. Depending on your genetic background, your makeup, depends on how you will be affected by it. Right. So if you wondered why a lot of people in West Africa and different places are not having the severe forms, because they have sickle cell trait.
Oh, that's true.
So, so what happens is the sickled cells, right? They're not good, so they get taken out by the spleen. Right. So the sickled cells are the ones that have the plasmodium in them, and they get taken out. So basically your body is cleaning out the bad cells. Right. So that's why you see here in America, a lot of African Americans, they have sickle cell trait. Correct. It's just kind of transcended down.
That's interesting. Yeah. And I know that, and it's funny. This is just such a good refresher. That's why I love this show, because the pathology in it is cool. So interesting. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you read about the life cycle of malaria, it's
yeah, we
really
got a
cool.
great picture for it too that we're going to show in just a minute. But we have to say goodbye to Facebook Live. Yes.
Bye,
you have
y'all.
to subscribe because we're going to go more in depth about some cool stuff about this, the signs and symptoms, and what you can do to treat it and kind of stay abreast on it. But still travel. So Facebook Live, I ask that you subscribe to the show on all major platforms. We've got it on iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play, and Stitcher. And please review the show on iTunes. The only way we can get better is by your constructive feedback. Share this Facebook Live post and the entire show with your family and friends and donate to the mission. We will bring enriched and inspiring content each and every week. And you can donate at www.thesphere.com/donate. All right, goodbye, y'all. Facebook Live.
See you on the flip side.
Yes.
But what were you saying now?
Okay, so we were talking about the different factors. We were talking about how those with sickle cell trait, usually the falciparum, they have a milder form or they're protected against it basically because they have sickle cell trait. Mm-hmm. So that's why in West Africa and places like that, it's not as common. Now, the falciparum, though, has been a leading cause of death in Africa for a while, but now with the sickle cell trait, it's kind of dwindled down. It's pretty cool.
That is cool. There's another thing about it globally for sure.
Yeah. So if you know your blood groups, you know you're mostly A, B, and O, right? Mm-hmm. But there's a lot of other. I'm sure you know if you've ever had to get someone blood and they have to get it typed. There's many, many other antigens that are sitting on your blood cells, and one of them is called Duffy. Right. So those that are negative for Duffy, their red cells are resistant to infection by Plasmodium vivax, which is a pretty severe form. Yeah. So majority of Africans are Duffy negative. If you look, most of us that have African ancestry, we're Duffy negative. Vivax is pretty much rare in Africa, South Africa, and the Sahara because of that.
Yeah, we don't really hear about the other types so much. But I guess, from a pragmatic standpoint, at least when I see them, I don't really always catch the follow-up unless I go look for, the pathology report later, because it's just pretty simple. Once you sort of suspect it, you start treating, and you're waiting on that peripheral smear. But
so what are most of the symptoms and signs that you see when they come in? You see
just
the fever,
really pronounced. I mean, but it's like a high fever, like a 105 fever. And of course, anybody who is experiencing a temperature like that, I mean, they're going to be pretty dramatic, elevated heart rate, tachypnea, obvious chills and rigors. And that's why, it's interesting when people say they have chills until you've really seen somebody who's had chills. You kind of always question that. there's chills, and then there's like rigors. I mean,
Yeah.
that stuff is real, and so your perspective sort of is kind of changed after you see like a real case of that, and they're just sick. I mean, they're just miserable. And you can tell how intensely their body is aching, the myalgias and the bone and joint pain. But it's just very dramatic. That's the best way I could describe it. Just very dramatic, but it tends to fit the typical narrative of how malaria presents, essentially. And there's usually always a travel history associated with it. And that's pretty much, that's pretty much my experience with it. But again, that's just from the emergency department side. And in fact, in my experience, most of the time, once you call ID, they were like, oh, just treat him and, really they could go home. And it's just hard to send people home like that. You're like, man. But, that is what they do in all across the world. It's not like a big deal like we make it here in the States when someone presents with malaria.
Yeah. And it's probably pretty neat because I was reading on the CDC website that some of the forums in certain areas are thinking about just having like global treating in a sense that in an area where someone has been infected or presented with it, just basically treating the whole population.
Oh, wow.
As a way. I'm not sure how all the studies are going, but they're thinking
cost effective that would be, or
But I think they're saying because the falciparum, the VVAX, some of them are pretty severe, meaning that from the time it's infected to symptoms, like, treating someone, not everyone's going to have the time in these areas to go to the doctor like we
or
do.
have access, right?
Access.
I get that.
Yeah.
But it's still like, who's going to pay for all that?
I know.
That's the question. And it's not like, these drug companies could provide these drugs at a very low wholesale price. But, that's interesting. I mean, that's an interesting way to look at it. I mean, from a global perspective, it does make sense if you know that something is endemic to a certain area or region. Why not just get aggressive about it and say we're just going to treat everybody?
Right.
Not a bad idea, actually. A little preventative thinking. I know, especially with HIV, I've been reading quite a bit about just some different, it's for another show, but some different tools and tactics that they've been using in certain parts of Africa where they've seen a really high spread of HIV at a very high rate, with education, also pre-treatment medications, and some other things. So I think that fits, probably the norm that's happening is that when we see things in real time that could be endemic, that we treat that, kind of quickly and get our arms around it because we know it'll spread.
All right, I got some cool pictures for the pathology part. So what happens is that when someone's suspected for malaria, you get the peripheral blood smear, and we get slides. We get thin slides, which are very thin layers, and then thick slides, which are tons of cells packed on each other, but we're able to see them more. So in this one, you see that banana, all the circles with this thing in the middle that's kind of out, those are red blood cells. They're normal red blood cells, and you can probably see maybe a platelet or two. The thing that's shaped almost like a banana, that is a gametocyte of Plasmodium falciparum that you see. And then there's another picture right before that of the ring.
I always love your pathology pictures.
Yeah?
I do.
Thank you.
I really want to this is off topic. Never mind. Let me stop. Let me not be off topic, but okay, go ahead and
So these are the ring forms. They're like literally like rings, and it's so cool when you see them. So the thing that's neat for us is, remember I said there's a different forms. And yes, but you can see VVAX, you can see Ovale, is we have to look at the ring forms. Some of the plasmodiums have different shapes at different times. Some are inside, outside, the way the rings are shaped. We have to look at all this. So it's not like we're just saying, oh, there's rings, you got malaria. We have to make sure that we're saying it's the right one, because actually smear diagnosis is probably the most specific way to diagnose it. Now, you got the finger stick that was talked about a while back, but then again, you're talking about something that's almost like just doing,
I didn't even know they did finger tests for that. I know we don't have access to that
Yeah,
at our
not
hospital.
necessarily here, but it's not even something that's really specific, right? So you're just saying it's basically like the clinical signs. It says Plasmodium, but it does not differentiate what type or go any
Okay,
depth.
so it's a good screening test,
yeah.
but not very specific.
And then, of course, you got
Okay.
PCR, which probably would be more something in a research type of mode, only
Right.
because to do that test is very expensive and time consuming. And they can be seen,
Mm-hmm.
if you do them rightly, they can be seen on this. Now, then again, you're having undulating fevers, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if the first time the test is negative, then you have to wait a few days and then redo the smear because they may not show up. They're
Gotcha.
hiding in the liver.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I know. Did you go through the life cycle already?
A
Oh,
little
we
bit.
can't- we
We
can't.
can. Yes.
Well, we can, but first of all, we got to thank our sponsors here. So this portion of the show is sponsored by Body by Royce. Are you looking for an experienced professional to help you maintain or even jumpstart that healthy lifestyle you've been seeking? Well, then look no further. Set up your free consultation today with Royce Thomas, owner of Body by Royce. His precision instruction and motivation is just what you need to reach your fitness goals. He will assist you with focus on healthy, all-natural training as well as dietary plans. Whether you need personal, group, corporate, or sports elite training, his expertise will definitely get you on the right track to a healthier lifestyle. Book your consultation today at area code 832-332-2407 or send an email to thebodybyroyce@gmail.com. Give them a shout. Thank you to Body by Royce for being one of our amazing sponsors. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
So you were going a little bit into evaluation of the blood smears, and so you said the PCR, and this is something even for physicians that we're not really very clear about, but I didn't know PCR costs so much. How expensive is this, Dr. Keisha?
Okay, so you're thinking about running a lab itself is expensive, right? To do
Sure.
PCR, first of all, you want to run enough samples at a time so you're not wasting money. So you have to have enough samples. So
When you say enough samples, you mean for multiple
patient
people?
samples, yes.
Multiple people?
Yeah,
Not just
even
one
in the
person.
lab, everything's batched. Yeah,
I
it's
didn't
usually
know
not
that.
one sample. Yeah, when you're doing things, there's lanes, and so different samples are in different lanes in different areas. So
Okay. That's
so
interesting. I
everything's
didn't know
batched. Yeah, there's a couple of things if it's really, really necessary to be done separate, but it's usually cost effective to batch things.
that. Okay.
But to do PCR, you're talking about extracting DNA, having a very, very literally has to be a very, very clean environment to run the test. The machine itself is not cheap.
Okay.
And so to do PCR, yeah, it's not something that's like as cheap as doing a CBC. No, not at all.
But that's
So think about
interesting because
that.
then, like when you're dealing with syphilis, like they recommend doing PCR for a lot of those,
Mhm.
correct? So, well, thank God it's not that
Right.
prevalent
And
anymore.
then sometimes, right, it depends if they even want to order it because you can histologically,
Mm-hmm.
you can see them on there.
Okay.
Um,
I didn't know you got batched like that, but that's interesting.
yeah.
I mean, it makes sense from a cost savings perspective, and I'm learning all about that.
No, except for stat
Okay.
cases. Yeah.
Okay.
Then they're run.
Aren't they mostly all stat? Aren't they? I don't
True
know.
stat.
I'm asking questions.
Well, in the ER. It'll be ER cases.
Yeah,
We're going to
yeah.
get you less than 30
We're
minutes. so-
selfish. I know. We want our stuff right now. Always. Okay, and so you said the finger stick is sensitive but not specific, and we see
Yeah.
that across the board with a lot of tests. Another example of that would be like a D-dimer test, sensitive, not specific. We get
Yeah.
a lot of positives on that turn out to be not fruitful. Thank goodness for the patient, but it is great when it's negative. So. You know,
That's true.
we see that a lot in a lot of different tests. So this is another great example, and I didn't know that this existed. But what does exist is our amazing sponsor, the Houston Housewives of Finance. Did you know that only 4 states in the United States offer financial education? 33%, or more than 77 million of Americans, don't pay their bills on time. 39% of Americans carry credit card debt from month to month, and 39% of adults say they don't have enough savings. Don't become one of the statistics. Let Houston Housewives of Finance advise you on increasing your cash flow and becoming your own money manager by scheduling your complimentary personal financing strategy. Contact Houston Housewives of Finance today at 1-844-700-4463 or email us at info@houstonhousewivesoffinance.com. Ask how you can participate in a complimentary financial literacy workshop near you. Houston Housewives of Finance are the new faces of the new age of financial
All right.
services. double dog dare you to say that 3 times.
I cannot.
No, but I love it. But, financial literacy, very important. So contact info at HoustonHousewivesOfFinance.com and see what they can do to help your life be better. Everybody loves to have their finances on track. It takes a lot of stress off, right?
And you have to have your finances right so you can go overseas and go to these tropical islands.
Travel, right?
So I would say the most important thing of today is, there's malaria, but there's many, many more. There's Chagas disease.
So many.
There is trypanosoma. There are parasitic worms. There's a lot of things. So the important thing is wherever you're going, I know there's this anti-vax movement and all this, but wherever you're going, please make sure that you go to your doctor and get the necessary medicines or vaccines that you need for travel. And it'll prevent a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, there's tons of travel.
I should just show you the pictures of all the worms and all of the diseases, and then you'll definitely want it. Not to scare you from going, but just to let you know.
That's real. I've seen patients with
neurocysticercosis, yes.
I can't say that 3 times fast, and I'm
from
sorry.
Eating pork.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. So it's really super. When you see the images of this stuff, baby, look, you will schedule you an appointment. I'm just saying. I have seen the worms. I have seen it all. That's the one benefit of training at a level 1 hospital. You see some stuff. I have seen the worms. It's nasty.
Yeah.
I don't want it. I don't want it. That's the main takeaway I got from that. So go get your recommended vaccines. You can go to any travel clinic. It's so easy. Just look it up on Google.
And the prophylactic medicine for malaria, I don't really think it's even that much. Not that much compared to what you'd have to do if you got malaria and had to come back and be treated for it. Let's put it
just
like that.
on Plaquenil for a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's nothing. Nothing. But it's a really cool topic. Yes. Very, very cool topic. So thanks for bringing that up. And, we're keeping it short and sweet today. So in case you're listening on your drive or you're at work and you just want to get a little medical info from your girls, we're here. And we have some really cool show topics coming up. I think we're going back to the Health Museum. We're going to be doing some more ride-alongs. We're going to be hitting it up with Dr. Keisha at her workout camp. We're going to be live in some people's offices trying to get the real tea on what's happening out in the medical streets, as we call it. Yeah. So we have a lot of good things planned, and stick with us. And thank you guys for tuning in and being a part of our community. And as always, we will see you next time.
Bye-bye.